Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your spooky host, the Lost Chevalier, and you're welcome to Dagon. Dagon is a faithful interactive adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's work, focused on story and atmosphere. You will not find difficult choices, action sequences, or inventory management here, and movement is limited to progressing through location along with the plot.
I am writing this under an appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more.
Okay. During the game, you will encounter interactive elements. Some of them will allow you to continue your journey, others reveal interesting facts about the original short story, its historical background, and the author. Some of the trivia is hidden. In order to find these secrets, focus your eyes and look for the Elder Sign. You can also access all the found facts later. They will be available in the main menu. Yeah, but I can't move. Oh, take a look at that! Lovecraft letters. As to letters, my case is peculiar. I write such things exactly as easily and as rapidly as I would other the same topics in conversation. Indeed, epistolary. Sorry for my thing. I have an asthma, episode. I run a little. Indeed, epistolary expression is with Indeed, epistolary expression is with me largely replacing conversation, as my condition of nervous prostration becomes more and more acute. I cannot bear to talk much now, and I'm becoming a silenced spectator himself. My loquacity extends itself on paper. H.P. Lovecraft to Reinhard Kleiner, December 23rd, 1917. Throughout his life, Lovecraft penned around 100,000 letters to his friends and fans, of which about 10% survive to this day. But this tendency to endless correspondence was a relatively late growth. In youth, I scarcely did any letter writing. Thanking anybody for a present was so much of an ordeal that I would rather have written a 250-line pastoral or a 20-page treatise on the Ring of Saturn. Select letters 1929-1931. H.P. Lovecraft. Lovecraft will often skip meals to afford postage. Collections of his correspondence have been published in various books, and selected letters can be found online. Some readers consider them his most important legacy. Ooh, so that was a secret. Okay, what else do we have here? I think nothing more. Something in the ceiling? No. I could progress the story, just jump into my death!
Penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below.
Are you going to open the window first?
Do not think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate. When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death.
No, this is that. There is an history here. Morphine entered into use in the 19th century and was routinely administered to treat severe pain during the American Civil War, 1961-65, and World War I, 40-18. It was also sold without restrictions until 1914. Morphine became more popular after the invention of the hypodermic syringe around 854. Frederick Serturner, who first isolated the substance, originally named it morphium, after Morpheus, the great god association with dreams. At the time when Dagon was published, morphine abuse, known as soldier's disease, already possessed a big problem in the United States. Huh, something else to read over here? In somewhere? No, so let's progress.
It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider.
Oh, there is something over there. Dagon was written around a month after the United States entered World War I. Lovecraft was actively interested in its course. He composed many poems in which he gave encouragement to soldiers and commented on the events unfolding in Europe. He tried to enlist in the army, which he mentioned in one of the letters to Reinhard Kleiner. Some time ago, impressed by my entire uselessness in the world, I resolved to attempt enlisted despite my almost invalid condition. I argue that if I choose a regiment soon to depart for France, my sheer nervous force, which is not inconsiderable, might sustain my till a bullet or piece of sharpened coal more conclusive and effectively dispose of me. Letters to Reinhard Kleiner, H.P. Lovecraft. But even though he passed the physical exam, his mother prevented him from going to the war. She has threatened to go to any lengths, legal or otherwise, if I do not reveal all the ills which until fit me for the Navy. I am Providence, the life of times of H.P. Lovecraft, St. Joshi. S.T. Joshi. Joshi. Okay, I knew there was something over here. Something over there? No. Continue. Well, I think we're screwed.
The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation. So that our vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners.
Something there? Obviously. Nothing over here. There's a thing over here, over here. There is anything hidden? There should be. The Huns were Central Asian nomads who established a dominion in Europe and invaded the Roman Empire in the 5th century AD. They were known as brutal, deadly warriors, and master of quick raids who also developed powerful composite bows, lasers and early siege weapons. During World War I, the British used the word Hun as a synonym for Germans, in order to emphasize their brutality. However, the term originally when the German Emperor Wilhelm II gave a speech to his troops on 27 July 900 before they embarked to China. Should you encounter the enemy, he will be defeated. No quarter will be given. Prisoners will not be taken. Whoever falls into your hands is forfeited. Just as 1,000 years ago the Huns under their king Attila made a name for themselves, one that even today makes them seem mighty in history and legend, may the name German be affirmed by you in such a way in China that no Chinese will ever again dare to look cross-eyed at a German. The refusal to take prisoners was a clear breach of the laws and customs of war adopted during the First Hague Convention in 1899. Yeah, Germans are Germans of those times, I guess. Let's get out of here. But they were actually fair, at least in Europe.
So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone in a small boat with water and provisions for a good length of time.
Good. Something hidden? No, this is progression. No, there is nothing here hidden here. So let's continue. Let's get out of here. Row, row down your boy, down the...
I found myself adrift and free. I had but little idea of my surroundings.
Yeah, what was the big idea?
Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator. Of the longitude, I knew nothing, and no island or coastline was in sight.
Go to Argentina, my man. Well, to Chile, actually, if you're in the Pacific. Somewhere... something over here, maybe? Oh, that's the moon. I'm looking for secrets. Nothing here. Okay, let's continue.
The weather kept fair, and for uncounted days I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land.
Yeah, keep dreaming, my man. No, that's the water. I want to see if there is something over there. No. Over here, no. Oh, there is something over there. Dagon was written in July 1917 and first published in 1919 in The Background, an amateur magazine focused on the supernatural. The story is the first of his stories that introduce an element from the Cthulhu mythos, Dagon itself. A pagan cult worshipping Dagon later appeared in The Shadows over Innsmouth, one of Lovecraft's most popular works. 1917 is also the year when he wrote The Tomb, a story about Jerva's journey, a daydreamer who discovers a mysterious mausoleum in the woods by his house and becomes obsessed with it. These two works marked Lovecraft's return to short story writing after he burned most of his attempts at the genre 9 years prior and decided to concentrate on poetry. Lovecraft stated that it was his friend, William Poole Cook, a literary publisher and critic, who convinced him to start writing weird fiction again. Cool! Let's continue.
But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue.
I hope you bring a cap.
The change happened whilst I slept.
What change?
Its details I shall never know, for my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous.
What the? Whoa, 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 wow. Excuse me. What the heck are you? What the hell is that? The fuck are you? The hell are those?
When at last I awoke, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see, and in which my boat lay grounded some distance away. Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished.
Obviously, my man, you're looking at the... What?
For there was in the air, and in the rotting soil, a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core.
Of course.
The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish, and of other, less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain.
Oh, they're small. I believe they were giant.
Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity. There was nothing within hearing, and nothing in sight, save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear. The sun was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet.
Whoa, look at that! They're having a bad day, if you ask me. Hello, hello, what the hell are you? Oh, a fish. Whoa, 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 what are you? Dagon seems to be inspired by Fishhead, a short novel by Irwin S. Cobb about the natural affinities between a hybrid idiot and the strange fish of an isolated lake. Supernatural horror in literature, H.P. Lovecraft. And Lovecraft's dream about a strange island emerging from the ocean and him crawling in the ooze that covered its surface. I dreamed that whole hideous crawl and can't yet feel the ooze sucking me down. In defense of Dagon, H.P. Lovecraft. Lovecraft's interest in the topic stemmed from his aversion to fish and sea smells. In his own words, I have hated fish and feared the sea and everything connected with it since I was 2 years old, but I cannot recall what early experience gave me such a profound and lasting aversion to the sea and seafood. The Dweller in Darkness, Lovecraft, 1927, Donald Pentray. Haha, Lovecraft, do you have a problem with fish? I'm recording, aren't I? Yes, I am. Continue. Ah, that sound.
As I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position.
Yeah, go for it. I want to hear it.
Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions for which innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths.
Yeah, how do you explain that thing over there that's standing and pulsating?
So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, straining my ears as I might. Nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things.
Yeah, I can totally say to you, this thing is not natural. No volcanic activity can do this shit, I think. Is there something somewhere? I like to read. Nope, let's continue then.
For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens.
Well, at least you have shade now, before you were in the middle of the ocean.
As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for travelling purposes in a short time.
Good.
That night I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search of the vanished sea and possible rescue.
Can we speak about the tentacles? Something somewhere. Give me tentacles. Do you have a... No, you don't have an antler. I think there is no antler. I can't see anything. So there must be none. Let's continue.
On the third morning, I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease. The odor of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight an evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal.
Ah, ya te pausa. Okay, is there something of Dagon over here? Look at that thing. Look at this one. This thing should be extinct, I think.
All day I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock which rose higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert.
Yeah, how about we talk about those? What the hell are those? My man, I know see something that we haven't explored, but that thing doesn't look natural. Nor this one. Well, that's normal. That's a whale. Something over here in the stone. No. But these things don't look natural at all.
That night, I encamped, and on the following day still travelled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it.
How do we talk about this thing? How about what the... This is a freaking kraken, my dude! You could eat it! The creator of the Cthulhu... Oh, shit! Oh, damn it. The creator of the Cthulhu mythos and the fictional underwater city of R'lyeh was convinced that life could not exist at the bottom of the ocean because the water pressure will make it uninhabitable. Today we know that the darkest depths of the ocean are home to many peculiar organisms. The deepest dwelling fish we have discovered so far, the Mariana snailfish, can live about 8,000 meters, more than 26,000 feet, below the ocean surface, in never-ending darkness and at hellish crushing pressure, hundreds of times stronger than those found at sea level. Upon glancing at the modern photos of deep-sea creatures, such as the anglerfish, the fang-tooth or the viperfish, and their truly Lovecraftian characteristics, it's hard not to find some irony in this. Indeed. Let's continue. Are we getting closer?
By the fourth evening, I attained the base of the mound, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance.
Indeed.
An intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill.
Bad idea.
I know not why my dreams were so wild that night, but ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain, I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more. Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again, and in the glow of the moon I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day. Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy. Indeed, I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset. Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence.
Yeah, this is your pack, but there is anything... Oh, yeah. Oh, you will try to get with me? The loader. Contrary to popular opinion, Lovecraft was not an ever-frowning, eccentric, grumpy loner. He considered himself to be a person who appreciated humor. Moreover, he would often meet with friends in his apartment or at various cafes in Brooklyn and Manhattan. At times, his social life was so intense, his works would suffer for months. There was a point when he finally decided he needed to put an end to daily meetings and loitering in New York cafeterias and resorted to hiding at home and reading with the main room light turned off, pretending he wasn't there whenever a friend knocked on his door. He also had another method of deterring his guests, which involved greeting them in a bathrobe, with an unmade bed visibly in the background and piles of papers scattered across the floor. Oh, Lovecraft, you were amazing.